In this video, we're going to explain how to do a fantasy draft in NBA 2K22. You go right into My League as you see on the screen. You can either go to an existing file, create a new one. You always go to Custom League, and it's always going to start in regular season. Now, you have the options of adding extra NBA teams. You can put some throwback teams of your favorite squad. It's totally up to you, or you could just leave it the way it is and keep the standard choices. We're going to go into setup options. Very important you do that before you start your new season. You got to go down to fantasy draft and turn that on, and turn on the draft order if you want to decide what pick you're getting for your squad. You could do Serpentine, which is snake draft, or you could do fixed draft, which is just like the NBA draft. You can use your regular teams in the NBA, or you can throw in classic throwback teams as well. What I always recommend is to turn on the option that says no for allow duplicates and keep the best player, right? Which means you're not going to have like 10 different Michael Jordans in the draft. You'll just have one, and that will be the best version, which you can call Prime Michael Jordan or Prime Shaquille O'Neal, Prime Magic Johnson, stuff like that, even Prime LeBron James. Save the settings. I call it What If because that's the series I'm actually planning to create, because in this video, I'm going to take Michael Jordan as my number one pick and put him on the New York Knicks and see what happens in that season. So if you want to stick around for the rest of the video, I definitely encourage you to do that because it's going to be pretty crazy. We're going to draft a whole new team, which means there won't be any Julius Randle, Emmanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett. We're doing a whole Knicks squad using throwback players and current players. As far as all these settings here, it's totally up to you. If you want to have full control of the season, you can leave a lot of stuff on manual. Once you hover over the items, they'll give you an explanation of what everything means. Now, I want to make sure I get the first pick because I got to take Michael Jordan, right? That was the whole concept with this video. I was also curious to see how Michael Jordan would do in the modern NBA. The game has changed so much. We went from a lot of driving plays, a lot of penetrating in the paint, to now you got stretch bigs, you got three-point shooters. I mean, it's all good, right? It's a lot of fun to watch always. But can Michael Jordan really ball out in this era? That's a debate that comes up so much, especially in that LeBron versus Michael Jordan debate, which I'm not getting into in this video. So there you have it. We made the swap. And to do that, you just click on the team that you want to pick. You press X, it's going to say swap team, and you move it over to whatever slot you want to switch with. So if there's a number one team, let's say we had the Thunder there, we put the swap on the Thunder, and the Knicks got the first pick. So that's how you will control that. In the future, I won't always get the first pick, right? There'll be different type of challenges I'll do for these rebuilds. But that's how we're going to do it for today's video. So I got prompted to choose my player. As you see, the roster is stacked. We're going to take Jordan. But before we even do that, I want you guys to get an idea of what Jordan's stats are, what his strengths, and what badges he got. Because that's going to make a big difference if you are playing the fantasy draft on your own. I'm simulating this season. But if you wanted to actually play out the 82 games, 29, or whatever you decide, a lot of this stuff is very important. So you see Jordan got slithery finisher. He's got unstrippable acrobat for shooting. He's got catch and shoot. He's got dead eye, difficult shots, hot zone hunter, stop and pop, volume shooter. For playmaking, he's got space creator. And for defense, he's got clamps, Hall of Fame clamps. He's got tireless defender. He got pick dodger, menace. So he's got a lot of good badges. And if you look at his stats, he's got high attributes where it matters. His three-point shot is kind of low. It's at 84. But we expected that, right? Again, that wasn't the type of game back in the day. And I'm sure in real life, Jordan would have adjusted. But perimeter defense has got 98. Steal stat is pretty good. Speed is decent. Hustle is high. And his potential is A+, right? It is Michael Jordan. Now, I'm going to be very honest with you guys. I did leave on injuries for this season, right? To make it more realistic. So when you are drafting players for your fantasy draft, it's important to pay attention to their age, and it's also important to pay attention to their contract. Some of these players have some really crazy contracts, and some might be young with a really affordable contract, so you could build your team around that. Obviously, for this video, I had to pick MJ, so it wasn't as ideal as I wanted, but I also had fun picking a lot of players that I thought would have complemented Michael Jordan really good if it was to happen. So the first round was pretty solid. If you look at the picks, everyone got a good player on their team. Like Giannis went 15th. Imagine that, right? Giannis is like one of the greatest players right now. You got throwback D Rose. You got Jokic, who was the MVP. Dirk, Vince Carter. Like, these are all the prime versions of these players. So we'll show you the entire first round. And then after that, we're just going to fast forward to only our picks. AI got picked by the Bulls. Joel Embiid, Gary Payton on the Pacers. So now we're going to our first pick for the second round. We want to compliment Michael Jordan. I wanted to also build a team that is strong in defense. Now, I was very tempted to take Jimmy Butler because of that strong perimeter defense, but I wanted to get a solid point guard first. Oscar Robertson was catching my attention, but then when I scrolled down a little bit, I saw, in my opinion, one of the greatest point guards of all time. Now, obviously, Magic Johnson's already picked, but I went ahead and took Mr. Chris Paul, right? And we'll scroll down. CP3, what many people call the point guard, had to take him. It was just like a great pairing. Him and MJ, such a dynamic backcourt. It was going to be crazy. So now that we took Chris Paul, let's go to the third round. So we got a lot of good choices here. Immediately, I saw James Harden. I'm a little salty that he left the Nets, so I didn't pick him, right? I just did just like Kevin Durant. But all jokes aside, I didn't need a point guard and I didn't need a shooting guard. I was thinking defense, and you look on the options on the board, we had some scorers, but I feel like that wasn't really a need for me right now since I had MJ. So we're going to end up going with the best defender on the board and also a pretty decent rebounder. So we went with Rudy Gobert for the third round. So now the team is really shaping up. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. In the fourth round, when I saw Karl-Anthony Towns was available, I felt like that could have been a better pick than Rudy. But I went with what I had. And I also decided to stack up on the rebounding and the defense. So I went with Dennis Rodman, right? This round was probably the easiest for me to decide because I saw that Rodman would be such a great compliment to Jordan because obviously they played together before. So now I need a small forward. I need a small forward that can guard and that can also shoot the three ball. There were some good choices here. But again, I needed a small forward. So the only ones that I did see that were worth picking up was Michael Cooper, Caron Butler, and then I saw Chris Middleton, who can also play the power forward position. I'm saying to myself, Chris Middleton will be a good source of threes for my team. I went through the rest of the options just to make sure I wasn't making a mistake. Michael Cooper actually was a shooting guard, point guard too. So that helped my decision be a little bit easier. So we went with Chris Middleton for this round. So that was my starting lineup. Now I got to fill up the bench. I'm going to go through this quickly because we want to get into the season. But Drew Holiday was an easy choice. In case something happens to Chris Paul, I still got a solid point guard who could defend. Very easy choice for me to make there. The rest of my team I wanted to build up was around scorers. So I needed instant offense off the bench and with a combination of defense as well. So now our squad is picked. We actually simulate the first game, and I forgot to show the roster. But here it is. It's Chris Paul, Michael Jordan, Rudy Gobert, Chris Middleton. We took a lot of prime players, right? We took Odin. I figured give him another chance to reboot his career. Shane Battier, Drew Holiday, CJ McCollum, Dennis Rodman. We took 3D, right? Dennis Scott, great three-point shooter. Bill Laimbeer, Al Horford. So, right, we got stretch bigs who could defend and shoot the three. We also took Gallinari on our squad, right? We needed a scorer. But what we're going to do is simulate through the first month of the season just to see how the team does. And if you look right away, we only played a few games. Michael Jordan fractured his left leg. He's out for 1 to 2 months. Now, I'm regretting leaving an injury zone, but you know what? Let's keep it realistic. He's going to come back, but there might be a good chance he won't make the All-Star game. And there could be also a chance that he might not get any of the end-of-year rewards. But if he stays healthy and balls out, we could definitely make the playoffs, right? I'm still feeling pretty good. So whatever, we're going to leave the teams as is. Michael Jordan was out from October 24th until January 2nd. He did come back. And the team has a pretty good record still. So we did a real good job of drafting solid players to be able to hold it down while Jordan was out. Remember, we did have CJ McCollum as well, so that played a big part. So we're going to simulate it until before the All-Star game. And then after that, we'll simulate to the end of March and see what happens. We get trades throughout the season as well. So that's a cool feature if you do actually sit down and play these modes. But always pay attention to those trades because some of them are crazy. So the NBA All-Star starters and reserves were announced. Chris Paul made it, but Michael Jordan did not. I kind of expected that with the injury. But regardless, we are going into the All-Star break with a really solid record. The team is stacked right now. And for that reason, I decided not to do any trades. I kept the roster just the way it is. We were number one in the league, and it's probably going to continue that way as well. You see right there, top of the East. And the West is the Minnesota Timberwolves. That could be the finals matchup. And definitely should be interesting to see how that plays out. But let's keep it going. So after half, MJ's averaging 30.1 points per game. He's missed too many games to be on top of the league leaders. He doesn't qualify. But Chris Paul is doing his thing as well, averaging 23 with almost 12 assists. So the plan is working just as I hoped for. Now let's get to the rest of the season. You see Donovan Mitchell is averaging 27 a game. He's the number one league leader. Then you got Luka and Giannis right after that. So we're going to sim until the end of March and see what progress we have. So now we got contract extensions. I wanted to keep Jordan on my squad, but he's ineligible for an extension. You can read the explanation there. We are not going to be able to re-sign Dennis Rodman. He wants to test free agency. Middleton as well. Odin we can re-sign. Al Horford is willing to stay with the team, but I don't have his bird rights. So I have to wait until free agency in order to sign him again. As far as Jordan, we have to win the championship this season because who knows what's going to happen next. So now we'll simulate to the end of the season and see who won the season awards. So right there you see Magic Johnson was the MVP of the season. No surprise. Look at his stats. He's averaging 23 and almost 14 assists with 9 rebounds. It's pretty insane. Shooting 55% from the field. But that 3-point percentage stat is pretty sad. All right, so let's see the other rewards. Kay Cunningham won Rookie of the Year. Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf won Sixth Man. Kevin Garnett was Defensive Player of the Year. Wendell Carter Jr. Most Improved. And our coach, Tom Thibodeau, was the Coach of the Year. So that's very nice to see. We had a nice record, 61-21. But Magic got the MVP. All NBA team, Magic, Luka, Kevin Garnett, Duncan, Olajuwon. Chris Paul did make the All NBA second team. So I was happy about that, along with Kobe, LeBron, Giannis, and Nikola Jokic. Now you're wondering why Jordan probably didn't get any of those awards. He only played 49 games, but he did average 29.7, 6 assists with almost 5 rebounds. So he had a very solid season. So now it's time for the playoffs. So the first round was against Detroit Pistons. I know it felt good for Jordan to win that series. He played pretty well. He averaged almost 31 points a game. Solid series in my opinion. Let's simulate this one against the Toronto Raptors. Another strong series there. They were able to move on to the next series against the Philadelphia 76ers, which is led by Magic Johnson. Let's simulate that round 2. And we swept them. So now we're in the finals against the Timberwolves. That was the matchup we were hoping for. That's the best team in the West. Let's simulate it and see what happens. And they got swept. Now that's crazy. I don't understand how they got swept. Let's check it out. So the MVP of the finals was LaMelo Ball. Pretty crazy. But this shows how good this kid is. And I know Lamar Ball is probably chirping it up, especially with those jokes about Jordan. But all seriousness, we need to find out what happened in this series. Let's see what Jordan averaged. So we're going to go into it right in the player stats. And you would notice right there that Jordan broke his leg. When did this happen? I'm not too sure. I'm going to go to the game log and figure that out. So check it out. Jordan played game 1 and 2 against Philly and broke his leg. So that means game 3 and 4, he didn't play at all. And he didn't play a single game in the NBA Finals, which means he was not able to lead the Knicks to a championship. He still had a great season, right? He dropped 50 during the season. His game high for 3 points made in the game was 5. But MJ wasn't able to do it. His overall went from a 99 to a 93 because of the injuries. And now he's 34 years old. Definitely age played a factor. And that's the end of the video. So we did an Knicks rebuild. We did a whole new draft. We took Jordan as the first pick. And this is what happened if Michael Jordan played in the modern NBA. Maybe I should have turned injuries off, but I wanted to keep it realistic for y'all. Now, I know if I was to do the season again, the results could be different, but we only did one season. If you guys want me to follow up with another video for this, let me know. Or if you want me to do another player, I can do that as well. But I had a ton of fun, so I appreciate y'all. Catch everyone in the next one. Peace out.